Hey everyone, welcome to 99.6 The Howl. For the uninitiated, this is an unedited YouTube vlog discussing everything Arizona Coyotes. We have a 20-goal scorer. Congratulations, Connor Garland, a 5th round pick. I did a video on him about a week or two ago. So happy for this guy who came out of nowhere in the organization. Wasn't expected to do much, but he got called up in December of 2018 and has never looked back. He's been the leading goal scorer since he ever got called up by the Coyotes during that injured-riddled season last year. And 20 goals, unbelievable. It's been a while. Clayton Keller was the last Coyote to score 20 goals. He scored 23 goals in Rick Tocchet's first season as a Coyotes coach. That was about the 2017-28 season. Good for Connor Garland. It's been a rough week for the Coyotes, so I just want to celebrate something. Really happy for Garland. This team's, there's been a rough go of it. As of late, I'd say, not bad. Not a bad week. I know that Ottawa game was so hard to swallow. Such a sour game. I mean, especially that third goal that Ottawa scored was a huge stinker. And kudos to Antti Raanta for admitting that he let in a terrible goal, and then he answers that with 2 back-to-back stellar games against the Washington Capitals and the New York Islanders. Again, both wins, back-to-back wins. Good for Raanta. Really, shows who he is as a person. He'll stand by his words and come up and answer his own bell, because he did drop the ball against Ottawa in that game. The team as a whole didn't really have a great game against Ottawa. That was a game, that was a must-win. That's why the game was so sour when they lost. That was a gimme win. They had to just show up, play some semblance of Coyotes hockey, and they escaped there for 2 points. But they didn't come out fast or hard in the first period. Kind of had a good second, and then the third period, Ottawa made that trap game. It was a tough loss because it was such a good game they had against Toronto earlier in the week, where they lost in overtime, which they probably should have won with that goal overturned by goaltender interference. It is what it is. I was actually at the game. I was so happy when the Coyotes scored because they needed those 2 points. It was a huge 2 points, but they took away a point from the standings, and that was huge by the NHL to do that. They still got 1 point out Toronto, like I said, followed up with a stinker of a loss, but 2 back-to-back huge wins, 4 points. They basically propelled themselves back into that Pacific top 3 division conversation. As it is now, I believe they're 1 point behind second place and 2 points behind first place Edmonton. I believe the Calgary Flames won the night the Coyotes played on today's Monday. Monday is a holiday for both Canadians and Americans, so my days are mixed up. But Calgary and Arizona won today, so I'm pretty sure Arizona would still be in second wild card, maybe first wild card spot. Depends if Nashville won today. But the Coyotes and the fan base need to look at the Pacific Division and just compare themselves to the Pacific, because Nashville's behind them and they have so many games in hand, and I'm really scared of Nashville. But my only saving grace and worriness being flushed out of my system is that Nashville isn't in the Pacific, and the Coyotes just gotta beat out Calgary or Vegas or Canucks or Edmonton. One of them's going to bobble. Each team has been through such serious rough patches. Edmonton and Vancouver had a terrible November, December, but a really good January. Arizona had a terrible January, an okay February so far. Calgary's been up and down the whole season. Vegas as well. None of these teams are going to run away with a division title. Depending on the trade deadline, I'd be surprised if anyone does anything in the Pacific. Calgary's got that cap space for shipping out Frolik. Maybe Vegas does something because they have a pedigree to live up to. They're a playoff team. They're such a young team in the NHL, but they've told their fans they're a playoff team, and if they miss a playoff, it's a huge blow to that team. But Coyotes just got to keep winning. They got to just dictate their own playoff hopes. They got to just keep getting points, keep winning games, and it's not getting any easier. They had a huge back-to-back against Dallas and St. Louis, who are tied for first in the Central Division. Back-to-back against two behemoths in the Western Conference. That's going to be brutal. They have to get one win. Just get one win and everyone will be happy. You can't get 1 out of 4 points. You can't get 0 out of 4 points. You got to come out with at least 2. We understand you got to lose one of those games because those are huge teams to play. And so get one win. And then I think they have Tampa coming back home from that road trip. That's going to be a brutal 3 games. They got to stick to it. The way Coyotes have been playing, it's not the best. I mean, they're hanging on by a thread. I mean, without Ranta's elite goaltending, they could have lost both these games against Washington and New York. But thankfully, they managed to pull together 2 wins. Ranta's staying on his head. Defensively, they're getting back to their old ways of Coyotes hockey, like we saw in October, November. Offensively, they do need more work. They had 2 goals against the Islanders, 3 goals against Washington, one of them being an empty netter. I believe it was an empty netter, their 3rd goal, but I mean, they're winning. Every game they play is like a 1-goal game if you're not counting empty netters. Against Boston, it was 3-2 for a huge part of that 3rd period. Toronto was an overtime game. Ottawa 3-2 with an empty netter. Washington 2-1 with an empty netter. Islanders was 2-1 final. So they play close games, and we know that. This whole year, the Coyotes rarely have a blowout win. I mean, a Coyotes blowout win is a 3-0 win against the Edmonton Oilers or a 5-2 win against the Florida Panthers. So you can't expect blowout wins. You just got to take your wins, move on to the next game, and see what happens. They put together 2 back-to-back wins for the first time since the first week of January. It's been that long. It's been a month and a half of some mediocre and bad hockey. Hopefully the trains are back on the track. Everyone gets it rolling. We need some players to step up still. Schmaltz and Keller, I'm looking at you. Good for Keller to get on the scoreboard with a fluky goal that hit off a guy's chest. Phil Kessel's getting some assists here and there. Like he had a goal against Washington too, so he's slowly, quietly, gathering points. That top line of Hall, Garland, and Dvorak has been beautiful. Hinostroza, Kraus-Stepan could be better, but they're good defensively. That 4th line has been extremely good, shutting down top lines. They shut down Ovechkin. They played great against the Islanders. Every time they're on the ice, they're usually in the offensive zone, just battling down near the boards, and just so much hard work out of that 4th line. And defense has been good. They've been shutting it down. Lyubushkin and Osterley have been good. OEL and Hammer have been good. Goose, Chychrun have been good. Demers, hopefully he comes back soon. And Kemper. Maybe if Ranta can continue this play, which I'm skeptical about because he had a rough January of injuries and not finishing games. Hopefully that's all behind him because he needs to play exactly like he played against Washington and New York for the next 20 games. He has to play every game, Ranta. You can't leave it up to Hill. Even though Hill had a great game against Toronto, it's Ranta's net, and he needs to play like this every game from here on out until Kemper comes back. And hopefully when Kemper comes back, he's healthy, no more health problems, and he could carry the torch from Ranta from there on out. But a huge week ahead, 3 behemoth teams that the Coyotes have to face. Let's cross our fingers. Hopefully this offense gets going. Hopefully they keep their defensive MO that they had in Washington and New York and carry it throughout these 3 games because they're going to need it. And hopefully Ranta comes out and plays like he has this past 2 games because these are huge teams and you can't be asleep at the wheel like they were against Ottawa when you play these 3 teams. So that's it. That's it for me. Thank you for watching. Here we go. Thank you for your support.